Good morning, White Willow. Today we are going to talk about everything tallow, at least to start the tallow. And then we're going to start to talk about recipes that we can do with the tallow. Beef is what the tallow comes from. If you are doing pig fat, it's called lard, but we're making beef fat tallow for putting in your vegetables, putting in your casseroles, putting in your soups, just to name a few for the cooking portion of that. And then also tallow is great for making face creams and shampoos. So there's other things you can do with tallow as well. It depends on how far you refine it. So we're going to go ahead through two processes today, and we're going to see what the color is. The less it's refined, it's going to be a little bit more yellow. The more it's refined, it's going to be a really pretty white. So last night when I got home from work, I literally chopped up 12.5 pounds of beef fat. So I'm just going to show you what this beef fat looks like. It just looks like this. Now you can see that there's some red in it, but it's pretty clean. I did chop it all up and put it in here. So I have 2 crock pots this morning. I'm going to put this in one and see how much actually I could have used 3 crock pots this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one for right now. I'm going to put not quite 2 cups of water. This is 4 cups of water. And this is so it doesn't burn on the bottom, even though you're going to put it on a really low temperature. I guess it was a little more than 2 cups. And then I'm going to put, this is just a medicine cup. I just use these for everything if I buy them in bulk. They're just nice to have. So I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle this over the top of it. And this helps draw out the impurities. So the salt will do a little bit of preserving, a little bit, it's not a lot of salt. And then it'll help draw out the impurities in the crock pot. So we're just going to plug this in. We're going to set it at low, and I'm going to keep watching it like every couple hours, just stir it. When it's first rendering down, the first 4 hours or so, you're not going to have to stir it a whole lot. But then once it starts actually melting, and you'll see the fat turning to liquid, not really melting, but you'll see that you can stir it more often, and it's a good idea to stir it more often just to make sure nothing's sticking on the bottom. And it'll dissipate the fat a little better, so it can start dissipating that heat so that all of it gets mixed up and it's just not liquid on the outside and chunky in the middle. So you want to keep stirring it for that reason. So we're going to go ahead and turn this on low. I'm going to go ahead and get the other crock pot ready, and we will have tallow within a couple days because there's a process. So keep watching. So I wanted to show you, this is about 4 hours in. I did turn it on warm for a couple hours because I went to a football game, but you can still see there's a lot of fat here. So it's got a good bit to go still. I'm going to go ahead and bump it back up to low. So this has been going for about 8 hours. So you can see that it's got some meaty pieces that didn't dissolve or didn't reduce with the rest of the fat. Now there is a little bit of water in here. I had put about 2 cups of water in each crock pot, but I'm just gonna back up here and show you. I have a junky shirt on because I certainly didn't want to get fat grease on my clothing. So I kind of wanted to show you this that has been really in the crock pot on low for about 8 hours today. So you can see that it smells like beef in here. It's awesome. But I'm going to go ahead and scoop most of this juice out, and then we're going to put it in a cheesecloth with a filter into a container. So let me back up and show you that. So this is a strainer in a bowl, stainless steel bowl. You want something that the tallow is going to come out of it pretty easily. So if it's you know, you can kind of manipulate a stainless steel bowl versus a glass bowl where you're not going to be able to like maybe pop the edges. So I'm going to put that here, and we're going to put the cheesecloth down inside. Then I'm going to go ahead and move a little closer to this pot so I don't have far to travel. And this is just to catch any larger pieces. I'm going to get that a little more center. That might come along with it. So this has got a good bit of juice in here. And I'm going to get as much as I can with the ladle, and then I'm going to have to scoop the particles out of it, kind of mush that, and then dump it in. So now we're going to get to the point where we have to literally put the pieces in here. It looks like there's still some fat in here. I may try to reduce this again tonight. Looks like there's a good bit of fat in here still that might render down. I know when you cut it, it's a little longer to render than if you used, like if you ground beef, if you used a grinder for the fat, for the beef fat. So I'm just going to go ahead and press this down with this, just kind of get the rest of it out of here. We'll see how much is in here. Oh, it looks good. So we're going to refrigerate that part of it. I'm going to put this back in the crock pot, but I'm going to wait till I have both done in this bowl, because I'm going to put all these remaining fat particles in the crock pot and kind of let it render all night. Let me just let you see what this looks like without getting my handles all greasy. So you can see this beautiful liquid here. So this is going to go in the refrigerator all night long, and the water is going to separate on the bottom of the bowl just slightly, which is good because we don't want any water in our jars, because then it can go rancid a little faster. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and then I'm going to go ahead and throw it in the refrigerator overnight. So two things I have here. This is all going back in the crock pot because it did have a lot of fat in here that I want to just, it's not going to get a lot more, but it will get some more, and I don't want to waste it. And then this will go in the refrigerator. I will render this again tomorrow and then filter it again, and then we'll probably be ready for the to pour it into the jars. So it is morning, and I'm going to get this beautiful tallow out of here, and I'm going to put it in the crock pot. This is the one I did a little later. It didn't make a whole lot, but it should have less water in it because I didn't add any water when I put it back in the crock pot. So I'm going to go ahead and get these out. Oh, it cuts so smooth. This is what you're going to want to fry your potatoes in, and add a little bit to your green beans. It's just perfect. So I'm kind of cutting pie slices. And I'm doing this just to kind of make it easier to get out of the pan, for one. And for the other reason is that I don't want to disrupt the bottom of this too much because it has the water in the bottom of it, if you remember that. And I'm going to just do the same thing to this one. And this one, I don't even feel any water in the bottom. I think it's just all tallow. So this is the small one. I'm just going to show you that it has this brown on the bottom, but the rest of it is really good. So we're just going to take this and scrape off. It's just a gel. It's just what's left of that beef that it just rendered to the bottom. All the particles sank to the bottom. And this is just a nice piece of fat. So I called my friend. I didn't hear back from her yet to see if she wants any of the beef fat after it's rendered for her chickens. because I don't have chickens. I wish I had chickens because I hate to see it go to waste. So you just want to scrape all that off that you can. And if you remember, this is the color it went in as. Like it went in as this golden color, the liquid, and then it turns to this really pretty light colored piece of tallow. I'm doing a canning class at the end of this month again. So I may have somebody video it to see if we can get it posted. I know I've done a ton of canning videos. If you want to check out my canning videos, I'm just going to get this really good. I don't want any color in there. I want it as pure as possible. Isn't this nice? Because it's, you know, a cake icing spreader, which, you know, one of those things where you're like, I'm going to do cakes, and then you never do cakes. Well, you hang on to those tools because they'll come in handy for something else. I see a little piece that jumped down here. So now I'm going to stick this in the pot, the crock pot, and we're going to do this one more time. I don't need all of it really, really super pure, but I do want a good bit of it. Look at that. It's so pretty. And then I'm going to break it up before I throw it in the crock pot, just because it'll render faster. So you don't need all of it this white, but I do want it to have a good bit because I want to make some face creams and I want to make some shampoos. So you want it to be as pure as possible because, you know, you don't want your face to smell like a cow. So that's what we're going to do with the next one. And then later on today, we're going to pour it into jars. So we're almost there. And it's really not a long process. So don't get discouraged and be like, oh my gosh, that's so much time. It's a little time each day, but it's nothing. Like I don't think about it. I just go walk by the crock pot and stir it when I'm cleaning the house or whatever. So anyway, we're almost there. So here is the large bowl. You can tell it's got that water in it. But it separates. So the water stays at the bottom with all the you know, the stuff I'm rendering out of here, the particles, the not so good fat. And again, you don't want water in your jars because it can go rancid faster or even can mildew a little bit. So you want this is all where the water was. All this yellow is where the water was. So we're just trying to get all that off, and we're going to just purify this one more time. But you do want it to be as perfect as possible so you don't have a lot to purify this time. We are going to just put it through a cheesecloth and then take that into directly into jars. Now remember, you know, I'm not like a professional photographer or anything like that. So I do these strictly so people will know how to do stuff. Like, look at this. Not because I'm, you know, want it to be like an expert video and all fancy. It's just informative. That's all they are, just informative. So I'm going to dive in with my fingers on some of these. So a lot of this one, when I pulled it up, just stayed in the jar itself. So and you know, very little on some of these pieces. I do have quite a bit of fat. I'm hoping for 5 pints. We will see once I'll show you the crock pot as soon as I get this off of here. And I don't live in the country, if anybody doesn't know me. I live in a neighborhood, you know, has an HOA, unfortunately, because I can't have chickens. But you know, these are things that I do. You don't have to be living out in the boonies to, not that I wouldn't mind living out in the boonies. I would love it. If anybody's got any land anywhere, I want to buy it for cheap, not high. I'm just going to take this off of here. But you can still you know, prepare for your family, do things that are working towards healthy things in your family without having to have 5 acres of land. I have a regular yard, and I have a garden, and I grow my own herbs. I mean, my yard doesn't look like the most beautiful thing in the world, but um, it's functional and it provides. And that's what you're looking for. So this you can get at the butcher for 50 cents a pound. The suet or the beef fat. So then some butchers might charge less, some butchers might charge more, but on average I get it for 50 cents a pound. So I got 12 pounds, so it was like $6 for a lot of, you know, of course I have to cut it down and all. They don't cut it for me. But it didn't take long. I just threw out a cutting board and chop, 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 chop. So, you know, I think once you get used to doing things on a regular basis, you won't, I don't want to waste any of this. You won't fret about how long it takes to do something. It'll just be part of your morning routine. So you can see this looks really good. I'm just going to go ahead and slice it up a little bit so it melts faster. I would put this in 2 crock pots just because of the quantity, but my other crock pot isn't working well on warm. I might have to get a new crock pot, and they're both old. So I don't want to put it in there. This will render faster and you have to stir it more often. So it's not going to be, oh, you can just walk by it every 4 hours and give it a stir. It literally, you want to put it on a low or a warm. If you're going to put it on low, you have to watch it a little more carefully. If you're going to put it on warm, then you still need to go by and stir it pretty often. So just let that bust up, and we're going to let that all melt, and then this time we're going to take it out and put it in jars. So last time. So this is about 15 minutes in on warm. I have the crock pot on warm, but as you can see, it's rendering down really fast, and what we want it to do is just become all liquid, and it's gonna, you know, it's gonna be just an hour and it's gonna be done. We do want it to be like a certain temperature, so I want it to be right at about 200 degrees. If you have a thermometer, great. If not, you know, you can kind of eyeball it. But before you put it into the jars, you want it to be about 200 to 210. And this is not even 5 minutes after the last clip that I took. So it's coming along there. It's warming up. It's so pretty. It's just so pretty. I'm going to put my pint jars in the oven. And then I'll turn on the oven when it gets just a little bit closer to being ready. I like to put a hot product in a hot jar. Now, I'm not canning these or anything. They should seal on their own, or at least be shelf ready on their own. And there's controversy on that, so all you people that are rule followers, just relax. This is about maybe 20 minutes in. 30 minutes in. It's looking really good. I just love this. And it doesn't smell quite as beefy today as it did yesterday, so we're almost there. I'm just going to get my thermometer ready. I got the jars in the oven, and we'll be ready to go. So I just went ahead and waited till it got to be about 210 or higher, because it's going to cool when I run it through the filter, and it's also going to cool a little bit when I put it in the jars, and I want it to be around 200. So I'm just going to set this aside, and then we're going to go ahead and start scooping it. This is quadrupled now, so it's a lot. It's going to be a little slower going through the cloth, but ooh, it's going to filter it well. So we're going to go ahead, and I have a kind of a different setup. It's a little smaller of a strainer, and then I folded the cheesecloth in 4s so that it's a little smaller, and it can go into this measuring cup really easily, and then I can just pour it into my jars. One thing about these glass measuring cups is they're horrible when you go to pour. For some reason, the little end dribbles all the time. So I really get frustrated with that. But I have a canning funnel, so it kind of saves the drips to not be so bad. This looks like it might be reaching the bottom of the... So I'm going to do this one first. I'm going to put the lid back on this so that doesn't cool down, because this is literally at the end of the... So this is literally sitting in the oil itself in the measuring cup. And you know how you have those random Tupperwares that you don't have lids for? We'll save them for things like this. Okay. This jar is hot. Don't forget, I just touched it. I just pulled it out of the oven. It's just a wide mouth 1 pint jar. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to pour it in right up to kind of where the elbow would be. Obviously, this one doesn't have an elbow since it's a wide mouth. I'm going to set that aside. And then I'm going to instantly put the lid on with the ring. Okay. Oop, there, I touched it again. I do have my mitt sitting right next to me. You think I would just grab that. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on tightly. And this one's ready to go. So this is my first jar of tallow. So this is my second one out of the oven. I'm going to put my ring in again, my funnel. I'm going to go ahead and fill it up. This might be a better angle. And I can put a little bit more in it. So the jars are right from the oven. The liquid is hot. I'm just going to instantly put a lid on and then close it up with the ring. Beautiful, right? Woo! That is hot. So I did get 7 pints, which is actually a little more than I thought I was going to get. So I'm really thrilled with that amount. When you pour it in, make sure that you put the lid on and screw it down first and fast, because the lid gets hot from the hot jar and the hot product. So it will heat up quite a bit. Now, if you look at this one, it's not quite full. So this one I'm going to refrigerate and use now, but the others are good and full. And these are shelf ready per Karen White Willow, not shelf ready per any guidelines from our Food and Drug Administration. So there you have it. Some great tallow to have on hand for your cooking needs. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope you start making some of your own tallow. And as always, thank you for watching White Willow. So the last part is that you kind of want them to cool off slowly. That way you can visibly see if the center is also solid. You're going to just leave these out for 24 hours and you're going to cover them with a towel. So I got 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pints. Some wide mouth jars, some is just what I had. So some of them still have labels on them from like 2 years ago that this label has lasted through like 17 dishwashers and it just doesn't come off. So I'm just going to go ahead and cover these. We'll let these cool and then we'll take a look at them tomorrow. Here is my finished product of tallow. Look at the color of that. It's just beautiful. This is the next day. They've been undercover all day. I've got 2 that aren't quite as full in the back. So those I'll use now. I don't know why I didn't combine them.
So I hope you got something out of this video. I really enjoyed making this tallow. This tallow is for cooking. And then last week I actually made whipped tallow for face and skin. And it is just beautiful and lovely. So all things good. Go ahead and try to make some of this tallow. Post your question, like, share, and subscribe to this video. And as always, thank you for watching White Willow.